Hey Moon lovers, welcome to All Things Moon. My name is Kelly Jones and this is my first time of adventuring into the world of podcasting. Naturally, I am an introverted Cancerian who likes to stay in her shell. But luckily, I am a Sagittarius rising and it's Sagittarius season, so I have taken the plunge, bought a fancy swanky microphone, and here I am. So what is All Things Moon? I am bringing all my 30 plus years of teaching and guiding spiritual well-being together. I'm currently training to be an astrologer. I am a Strala Yoga guide. I am a moonologer. And these past few years, the two things that have really saved me have been getting on my yoga mat and studying the moon and the stars and bringing all of that into my life and using it to help me understand myself and understand what's going on in this crazy world we find ourselves in. So in my first episode, I will be giving you a little bit more of my story, and I will be asking you what it is that you would like to know from me. I'll be doing a regular Q&A, an Ask Kelly episode, and I will also be sharing things that will help you in your everyday life, just to join the dots together. I'm really good at joining the dots together and alchemizing your story so it just feels better. So enough waffling, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Hey Moon lovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. And apologies if you hear a dog barking in the background. I've been waiting for my next door neighbour's excited puppy to stop barking, but it's half term here. The kids are off school and I think he's a bit excited. So apologies if you hear that. Last week it was cats purring. This week it is dogs barking. But yes, we are fully into Gemini season now. And this morning, it's Friday, 31st of May that I am recording this, the last day of May. Can you believe it? And what a May it has been. There's a funny meme been going around all about, it may be sunny, it may be rainy, it may be snowy, it may be any kind of weather this month, which is why it's called May. Which may or may not be funny, depending on what we're trying to do. So, yes, poor Tom, he was trying to be out gardening this morning, but had to cancel the rest of the day because it's been raining so much. So he's gone off to climbing, and that has given me the house to myself. So I thought I would take the opportunity to get in early with this week's podcast. So yes, last day of May. Tomorrow is the first day of June. Wow, can't believe we're nearly halfway there already. And well and truly, as I said, into Gemini season now. And this morning I taught a lovely class. Friday mornings are the Self-Love Club, where we have yoga, coffee and connection. And we spend an hour doing some lovely self-love Strala yoga. And then we grab a coffee from the lovely Cheerful Chai coffee shop, and we sit down, we get our journals out, and I teach a little bit about the current moon phase and give some journaling prompts. And we have a nice bit of connection. So that was a lovely way to start my day today. And talking of moon phases, we are now in the last quarter moon. So officially last night, Thursday evening, the last quarter moon phase was fully there in the sign of Pisces. So remember, the moon moves roughly about every 2.5 days across the month into each zodiac sign every month. And at the moment, it is in Pisces. And the last quarter moon phase is when we come to a crossroads or a turning point. And it's when we start to clear the way for the next new moon or new lunar cycle. So it is the perfect time to slow down, rest, spend some time in contemplation. It is a natural time to exhale and to tend to our inner life. It's also a time to honour our body and the nervous system by giving it the rest that it needs. And my body has really been telling me to do that this week. It's also a really good time to forgive and let go. It's a time to cleanse and make room for new beginnings. So you could do a little letting go ritual. You could do some decluttering, and you could sit down and, on purpose, spend some time in forgiveness, whether that be for others, for yourself, for the world, for the universe. My sort of motto, if you like, for self-love is unconditional love for self, regardless. So, even things that we might see as not being self-love ultimately always are born out of a place of love that gets misdirected. Our little saboteurs inside like to maybe hold us back and protect us from something, which means that we might end up doing something that doesn't necessarily seem self-loving. But I always believe that really deep down inside, it's coming from an almost overbearing love. So whatever you have done or not done, forgiving yourself for that and loving yourself regardless really is true self-love. And that's coming from my perspective on it. But in my experience, if we are speaking to ourselves in a way that, oh, well, Kelly, that wasn't very self-loving, and I start to tell myself off for that, then I'm not really being very loving, am I? So, yeah, this is a really good time, last quarter moon, particularly in Pisces, is a really good time for forgiveness. And as I said, it's a natural time for an exhale and to tend to our inner life, to honour the body and the nervous system by giving it the rest that it needs. It's the moon's 4th quarter phase, and it is a time for shedding as we prepare for the next new moon, which is coming up on the 6th of June. So that will be a new moon in Gemini. So remember, new moons are always when the moon is with the sun. They are together in what you would call a conjunction. So wherever the sun is, that is where the new moon will be. A full moon will be in the opposing side. So it's on the opposite side. And generally, conjunctions tend to be more sort of positive and powerful in the way of being a good time to start something, whereas a full moon is the sun is opposite, and an opposition always gives us a little bit more of a challenging time. But obviously, it's what we do with it that matters. So maybe just before we continue on, maybe let's just take a moment to place our hands on our heart space, or maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the hara, your center, your belly, and just to spend a moment slowing down, a moment to contemplate, notice how you feel, to honor the body that you feel underneath your hands, to feel the heart beating, simply just beating for you without any effort at all. These things we forget that we have, these things that we may take for granted, these things that we forget about unless something goes wrong with them. So maybe bringing our attention to how well they're working, honoring that more often, being grateful for that more often. Maybe bringing our focus to that so we get more of it. So simply taking a long, slow breath in through the nose and a long, easy breath through the mouth. Doesn't that feel better already? So we've already started the work, everybody. So a last quarter square moon can be a time when doubts are raised. You've been doing really well. We're coming up to the next new moon phase, and we've got past that culmination point of the full moon, and it's when we can start to come into a little bit of doubt, thinking, oh, maybe there's too much of a good thing, and maybe you're just not sure what to pick. It's Gemini time, so usually lots of choices and usually some good times. Remember, we've got Jupiter in Gemini, so that's expanding everything Gemini. So it could be a very sociable time. I know that I have had one day this week where literally the whole day was sociable. I got up early in the morning to get myself ready to go out to a friend's 70th birthday lunch in the afternoon. But pre that, I arranged to talk to my mum in Australia because she was going off the next day on one of her bucket list adventures to South Africa on a girls only holiday with a friend of hers. She's so excited, like a child. So we wanted to talk to each other before she went on that, and I absorbed some of her excitement and her positive optimism. And then from there, I went to meet my friend for a coffee to catch up because she'd been to the Sacred Sister retreat down in Frome in Somerset, Shepton Mallet, actually, that's where it was. And she'd had the opportunity to facilitate her awakened belly dancing and inner dancing down there, and I wanted to hear all about that. And then I went on from there, literally 1 minute down the road, to the next place, which was a afternoon tea at Mrs. Salisbury's in Malden. Absolutely fabulous venue where we all had a crazy hat on. Some of the ladies there were from a coven that they go to together. The rest of us are all there because, we're all kind of closet witches. Some of us are out, some of us are in, but we know each other from a poetry soul circle group called 100 Notebooks. And I'm very excited to tell you that we are going to be publishing a book together of all of our poetry combined together in one book. So watch this space for that. That won't be happening for a little while yet, but that is coming up. So so I had a massive afternoon tea, and when I came back from there, I popped in to see my brother. He wasn't at home, but my 14-year-old niece, she was at home, and she was having, 14-year-old teenage issues. So I ended up having a good old chat with her, give her a little bit of self-love advice. And then when I came home, I had our regular monthly PHA meeting over at the pub over the road. Gosh, exhausting, even just listening to my own story. So, whoa, Thursday was really a day of slowing down, resting, exhaling, and honouring my body after, filling it up with lots of lovely things that my body's not really used to. I am quite a healthy eater, and what I wasn't eating wasn't really unhealthy, but I'm not used to eating cakes and sandwiches and coffees and teas and some glasses of wine in the evening. It was quite a lot. So, yes, the Self-Love Club was, well and truly welcome this morning. So, yes, this is the time when some doubts can be raised, when there could be too much of a good thing, when you're not sure what to pick. And it is okay, to question it. You don't have to say yes to everything. So, if you tend to be a bit of a people pleaser and hear yourself saying yes when really you mean no, it's okay to say, actually, I really didn't mean that. I think I need to go away and think about it and tune into it a little bit and just tune in with myself and see how I'm feeling, because, I'm needing to rest up at the moment. And, anybody who really loves you and who's a really good friend is not going to mind that at all. So, allow yourself to say no if necessary. This is the last quarter square moon in Pisces. So this will heighten your intuition, your intuitive gifts. So it's much easier to tap into how you're feeling. So, give yourself a moment to do what we just did. Stop, notice, be grateful for the body that you have, honor yourself by doing what you really need and how you really feel. Sometimes I know we can't avoid it, but to be conscious of it whilst we're doing what we're doing is better than being unconscious and then suffering the consequences. Hey. So this moon is square to Venus. So when the moon is square to Venus, it can trigger a bit of a sort of a restlessness and a need for a bit more in the area of our relationships, in the area of money, and in the area of all things pleasurable, because Venus is about pleasure. And we have Venus in Gemini at the moment. We have Jupiter in Gemini, and the moon is in Pisces in a square to Venus. So, this square can indicate that our wants and needs are at that crossroads, that maybe at cross purposes. And so rather than being a little bit Gemini, which is, to gossip and analyze and look at social media, try and turn away from any of that and feel your way into how you got your way forwards. What is dissolving, what is slipping away, what is, kind of on the surface is one thing, but something else is within you. It's like an echo within you. Just stopping and noticing, breathing, switching off the social media, not listening to any gossip, not analysing everything, but just feeling into what's going on, below the surface. And that will help to make sure you can tell the difference between sort of any distractions, nice sparkly things that are distracting you from the things that really have value, because Venus is all about values. A Pisces moon square to Venus in Gemini is obviously, it's all applying because the sun is in Gemini as well. So obviously the sun is there, and Gemini season can be a bit fast and a bit crazy, but the Pisces moon will be sort of saying, you need to slow down. You need to have a bath. Pisces is very ephemeral. It's ethereal. It's the water in the water. So, this quarter moon will help you to sort of synchronize your mental energy, all your thoughts, with your spirit and your emotions. It can really stir up our nervous system and our, disrupt our digestion, this type of crazy energy, this sociable energy. So, I am sitting here right now with some fresh ginger and turmeric tea that I made for myself. And I've also had some dandelion tincture today that is homemade by myself. Just to help with my digestive system. My nervous system is a little bit edgy at the moment because my lovely Indy, who you heard purring on my lap last week, I've got to take her for a blood test on Tuesday. And the last time we attempted that, it was a complete disaster. It was really stressful. So, I have to do all these self-care things because otherwise she will be noticing my stress. So how we are affects those around us. But yes, so, if you are having to socialize, just expect to feel tired afterwards. That's classic Pisces moon. And do something to rebuild your energy the next day. So as you can hear, I've already been living this energy. Once again, be careful not to overindulge with food or drink. Remember, Jupiter is expansive. It tends to be overindulgence is likely. So same advice as last week. Also today, there is a conjunction between Mercury and Uranus. And they're both in the sign of Taurus still. So that conjunction itself is generally quite fatiguing and draining. And it will be, again, confronting some mental and emotional stress. So get lots of sleep, don't eat too much, move your body in a gentle way. Probably, I should have told my mum it's probably not a good idea to go on a long journey, but she has. But she looks after her body anyway. So, she's pretty good. So the moon in a tight square to Venus in Gemini. So, if you have to socialize, but today, tomorrow, maybe just go inwards and take it a little bit easy, because it is a time to recharge and reflect. Get your journal out. Breathe deeply as the feelings come. You've got this. Maybe bring some focus. We're in Gemini time, which is the sacral chakra. It's creative energy. So bring, sit down, take some time to meditate and focus on that area of your body. And of course, the sacral is also where the digestive is. So doing some deep breathing into that area can help us come into that rest and digest state for the nervous system, and also give some space for our creativity. All of this energy as well, this Uranus and Mercury together, it could bring sudden news. Remember, Uranus is sudden shocks, sudden change. With Mercury, it could be sudden news because that's about communication. It could be an inner breakthrough or a realization. Could be a sudden idea. a flash of intuition. We could change, in the blink of an eye, we could change our perception on something, setting us on a completely new path. So, slow down enough to notice. Get your journal out, take some time to reflect, and look out for the synchronicities. Remembering that we've got Jupiter in Gemini for the next year. So Jupiter in Gemini is going to push you to expand your horizons and inspire you to broaden your mind. I am going to do, I think I'm going to do a separate workshop on this because it's such an interesting mythology and story around this. But there is a little dwarf planet, or I think they call it I can't pronounce the word, but it's an object in outer space, a long way away. It takes 11,000 years to go round the zodiac. I mean, we're talking a really long time. But for the first time, 11,000 years, don't quote me on that. It could be 1,184. I think it's something like that. Anyway, I'm rubbish with numbers, as you can tell. I will check myself on that. But we have this little planetoid called Sedna, has just moved into Gemini for the first time. So it's been in Taurus since 1966, and it's just moved into Gemini in April, and it's going to be in Gemini until 2068. And that is bringing in a new era of communications. Because she moves through the zodiac so incredibly slowly, in quite an erratic way, she's kind of subtly weaving magic deep into our subconscious, and she's moving just beyond the surface and into the deepest layers of the soul. So on that note, at the deepest layers of the soul, I'd like to read a poem to you just to finish off with. So this 70th birthday that I was at was a beautiful lady called Ruth Aitken. And she's actually, her full name is Rhea Ruth Aitken. And she holds the Poetry Soul Circle that I go to once a month. And she has just published a book of poetry from a woman's soul. And it's called Beneath Me Witches. So check that out on Amazon. I just picked one here. It jumped out at me. And this poem is called She Who Lies Under. She who lies under the skin of me, still until I reached down to her, one night in a dream, when I heard her call. Her hands were fragile and dry like old paper, unnourished by ink. Her lips sunken and softened by the balm of poetry, etched with the remnants of old books and wise words once spoken. Her eyes the dull milky white of an impatient moon waiting for her time to shine, for the sun to drop from the sky. Her hair the dusty silvery strands of a million fragile woven webs, long abandoned to the wind. She was too ancient to comprehend, too beautiful, too disturbing, and so utterly unfathomable to the humble human heart. I could not hold her in any other place but the deep where she lies, in a frail, fragmented memory. Beneath the surface. She who lies under. So that's Beneath Me Witches by Rhea Ruth Aitken. So I don't get anything for that. It's just done out of love. I was given a copy, so I'm very lucky that I was gifted a copy. And also, just before I came on, something else that Ruth gifted us all was an aura spray called Calling the Muse to help us call in our creative muse. So thank you for listening. Coming up on the 5th of June on Zoom, there will be a new moon in Gemini ceremony. So that is the night before the new moon, will be during the day, and the next day on the 6th in the UK. So if you go to my website, kellyjones.me, that's KELLIEJONES, you will find the link below the podcast to book, and you can just book on. It's only £11.11. So totally worth it. You get an hour and a half of much more in-depth information about the astrology. We look at your rising signs and what house area of your life it will affect you. We do some journaling. I pull some oracle cards whilst you're journaling. And then we will do some new moon wishes ritual at the end. So I hope you can join me, and I will see you all next week.